Dr. J. Raj's Literary Lens presents Part 1, Lecture 11, Posthumanism and New Materialism, Origins, Development, and Literary Implications. This lecture is prepared and presented by Dr. S. Joseph Arul J. Raj, former head and associate professor of English, St. Joseph's College, Autonomous, Tiruchirappalli, Tamil Nadu, India. Introduction. Traditional human-centered ways of thinking have been challenged by new philosophical and literary theories that question the dominance of human beings over nature, animals, technology, and other forms of matter. Among these emerging frameworks, posthumanism and new materialism have gained significant attention in literary studies, philosophy, and cultural theory. These theories encourage us to rethink what it means to be human, how knowledge is created, and how non-human entities, such as animals, machines, and even molecules, play active roles in shaping our world. This talk explores the origins and development of posthumanism and new materialism, their influence on literary theory, and their application in analyzing literature. Written in clear and accessible language, this discussion aims to make these complex ideas understandable to readers and researchers. What is posthumanism? Posthumanism is a philosophical and cultural movement that questions the centrality of the human in our understanding of the world. It emerged in the late 20th century as a response to the limitations of humanism, a belief system that places humans at the center of moral and intellectual life, and sees them as superior to other species and the natural world. Wolfe 16. Humanism dominated Western thought for centuries, especially during the Enlightenment, when reason and individual human experience were celebrated as the main sources of knowledge and value. Posthumanism, however, argues that this human-centered view has led to environmental destruction, animal exploitation, and an over-reliance on technology. Bradati 5. Instead of seeing humans as separate from and above nature, posthumanism suggests that humans are part of a complex network that includes non-human beings and material forces. For example, philosopher Rosi Braidotti explains that posthumanism refocuses the subject of knowledge away from exclusive human-centeredness toward a more inclusive and relational understanding of subjectivity. Braidotti 41. The term posthuman does not mean after humans or that humans no longer exist. Rather, it means going beyond traditional ideas of the human. As Cary Wolfe puts it, posthumanism is about the decentering of the human and recognizing how technology, biology, and culture shape what we consider human. Wolfe 18. Theory, origins and development of posthumanism. The roots of posthumanism can be found in several fields, including cybernetics, artificial intelligence, animal studies, and feminist theory. In the mid-20th century, scientists and philosophers began questioning the boundaries between humans and machines. Norbert Wiener, the founder of Cybernetics, explored how machines could mimic human thought and communication, suggesting that humans and machines are part of a larger system of information exchange. Hayles, How We Became Posthuman 12. In the 1990s, literary scholar Katherine Hayles made a major contribution to posthumanism with her book How We Became Posthuman, Virtual Bodies in Cybernetics, Literature, and Informatics, 1999. Hayles argued that the idea of the human has changed over time, especially with the rise of computers and digital technologies. She showed how literature began to reflect these changes by portraying characters whose identities blur the lines between human and machine. For instance, science fiction novels like Neuromancer by William Gibson depict humans who connect their minds to computers, challenging the idea that consciousness is purely human. Hayles, How We Became Posthuman 5. Another important influence on posthumanism is Donna Haraway's A Cyborg Manifesto, 85, which uses the image of the cyborg, a being that is part human, part machine, to break down strict categories like human-animal, male/female, and natural/artificial. Haraway 177. Haraway saw the cyborg as a political tool to challenge power structures and imagine new, more inclusive ways of living. These ideas laid the foundation for posthumanism as a literary theory. Scholars now use posthumanism to analyze texts that explore relationships between humans and non-humans, such as AI characters, animals, or ecological systems. What is new materialism? Closely related to posthumanism is new materialism, a philosophical approach that rethinks the role of matter in the world. Unlike traditional materialism, which often sees matter as passive and lifeless, new materialism argues that matter is active, dynamic, and capable of shaping events and meanings. Cool and Frost 11. New materialism developed in the late 20th and early 21st centuries as a response to post-structuralist theories that focused heavily on language, discourse, and social construction. Thinkers like Michel Foucault and Jacques Derrida emphasized how power and language shape our reality, but they often ignored the material world. New materialists argue that we cannot understand the world without also considering the physical stuff, bodies, objects, and environments, that plays a role in human experience. Bennett, Vibrant Matter, 1. One of the most influential voices in new materialism is political theorist Jane Bennett. In her book Vibrant Matter, A Political Ecology of Things 2010, she introduces the idea that inanimate things, like electricity, metals, or garbage, have a kind of agency or power to act. For example, she describes how a power blackout is not just the result of human decisions, but also involves the behavior of wires, transformers, and weather. In this view, non-human things are not just passive tools but active participants in events. Bennett, Vibrant Matter, XVI. This challenges the old idea that only humans can act or make decisions. As Diana Kuhl and Samantha Frost explain, new materialism turns our attention to the dynamism of matter itself and how it exceeds human intention and control. Kuhl and Frost, 7. Development of posthumanism and new materialism in literary studies. Like posthumanism, new materialism has found its way into literary studies as a method to read texts with greater attention to non-human characters and material environments. Scholars now ask questions like, how do objects shape the plot? How do landscapes or weather influence human actions? How do bodies and technology interact? For instance, in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, 1818, new materialist readings focus not only on Victor Frankenstein, but also on the creature's body, made from dead tissue and animated by electricity as an active material force. The creature is not just a symbol, its material existence drives the story, leading to violence, sorrow, and ethical questions. From a new materialist perspective, the creature's body has agency. It resists control, seeks connection, and demands recognition. Similarly, in works of eco-criticism, literary studies focused on nature, new materialism helps us see how forests, oceans, rivers, and animals are not just backgrounds, but active participants in stories. In novels like The Overstory by Richard Powers, trees are portrayed as having their own time, communication, and intelligence. A new materialist reading would explore how the material life of trees shapes human characters' decisions and emotions. Powers 180. Posthumanism and new materialism in literary theory. Together, posthumanism and new materialism have transformed the way literature is studied. These theories encourage readers to move beyond human-centered stories and recognize the roles of non-human actors. They also challenge dualisms, the idea that things must be divided into opposites, such as mind-body, human-animal, nature-culture, and real-virtual. In literary theory, this means analyzing texts for how they represent networks of relationships among humans, animals, technologies, and environments. For example, in Margaret Atwood's Oryx and Crake 2003, humans have genetically engineered new species, and one character creates a race of peaceful, plant-eating humans called Crakers. A posthumanist reading would examine how the novel questions what it means to be human and critiques scientific control over life. Atwood 198. Likewise, a new materialist reading would focus on how the laboratories, viruses, and biomaterials in the novel have their own agency, how they escape control and reshape the world. As Stacy Alaimo writes, transcorporality, the movement of material across bodies, means that we are all vulnerable, all connected to the world at a physical level. Alimo 2. These theories also influence how we understand identity. Instead of seeing identity as something fixed within an individual, posthumanism and new materialism suggest that identity is emergent, shaped by interactions with technology, environment, and other beings. Braidati 67. This means characters in literature are not isolated agents, but part of larger systems. Conclusion. Posthumanism and new materialism are powerful and evolving theories that challenge traditional ideas about humans, nature, and matter. Emerging from critiques of humanism, advances in technology, and ecological concerns, these frameworks push us to see the world as a network of interconnected beings and forces. In literary studies, they offer fresh ways to interpret texts by focusing on non-human characters, material environments, and the agency of objects. For readers and researchers, understanding posthumanism and new materialism means learning to read beyond human-centered narratives and recognizing the active roles of animals, machines, and even inanimate things. As climate change, artificial intelligence, and genetic engineering reshape our world, these theories become increasingly relevant. They not only help us analyze literature, but also encourage us to rethink our place in a shared, dynamic world.